Time to step it up. What is your best? You need that to be a question, not an answer. Find it. The currents are moving in a way that ripple, and it's not felt fully until a little bit down the timeline. It's already happening. Get ready. We need you. And with this, I give you Thoth. The currents that transform your society are thawing. There have been frozen spaces within your consciousness, within the shared human consciousness, that are now moving. In the past, when they were liberated, it generated too much chaos for you to cope with. We have periodically opened these channels, always in the service of a transforming world and a transforming potential for you. And yet, we needed to freeze them again in order to calm it down, having made as much progress as we could in the transformation of your societies, and then to let it rest. Now, the rest is over. You must become aware of the ways in which you have used external reality to cope with the pain of internal reality. As you do this, you will be liberated to consciously engage in external interaction, investment, time commitments, service. And it will do much greater good for yourself and your family than it did in the past, as long as you remain aware. Without full awareness of what you are doing and how it functions in the world around you, you are likely to over-invest in false beliefs about what is occurring, because the temptation to freeze your experience and understanding of the current transformation will not work. It will, perhaps, function for a time. I encourage you to understand this as temporary phases within the transition that you would be best served not to reach for. You will be given temporary phases of rest, and yet they will be far more conducive to your growth if you allow yourself to discover the phases that exist, rather than attempting to inflict them on your reality through excessive control. Your control will return with trust. Your trust that we are real and that we are here for you will liberate you to discover the patterns of the wind. The spiritual winds are moving in your life. They are moving you whether you want them to or not. And the simple engagement that you can learn first to recognize them will be the greatest act of transformation you can commit to. As soon as you prioritize this recognition, you will cease attempting to move against the wind when it is not possible to do so well. Thus, you will have a more careful appreciation of when it is time to move in a certain way, and when the winds of the spiritual world will help you move in a direction that is best for you and those you love. Please be conscious. You may well be the only one near you who understands these patterns for a while. For reasons that are complex, it can often be detrimental to have several people becoming aware of spiritual winds at the same time. Without a clear prioritization, your process of learning to be present with these forces will interfere with each other. Thus, as you embrace this role with humility, you will function in service to your communities in a manner that they do not have to understand. They, those you love, already trust you in this role. It is time that you become aware that the presence of the soul that embodied into this conscious reality remains. The soul that watches your spirit move in this life is present in a way that can help you. Ironically, the presence of this connection with those you love may be more reachable than your own. To understand how this works, you must remain committed to following the flows of spirit within you. Because as soon as you begin to identify the voices, the presence, the insight, and the love of those you love, it may change. Thus, your experience of connecting with them will shift, and if you do not recognize the shift, you will continue to trust them as if they are wiser than you are, into a phase when you receive false insight. It is up to you to identify the patterns of these spiritual shifts, and they are the same patterns that will teach you how to recognize the greater steps you can take in your life. It is time for you to open yourself to the greatest potential you can have. Whatever may stand in this way must be put down. I say this with great intentionality. When you learn to recognize the presence of that which is not your own within your body, you can return this to the earth. The simple distinction is to remain deeply committed again and again to discerning whether or not you have more work to do in places you do not want to see or feel within yourself. I assure you, much of what you know to be your own is not. And yet, some of the worst forces are. Discerning between these burdens will liberate you to return much of what holds you down to the earth, to be transformed, to be reclaimed and reused. As you liberate yourself from this weight, the spiritual weight of energies that are not your own, you must become present with that which is. This is the same tool of discretion to distinguish between the currents within you. This discretion enables you to witness yourself and witness those you love and witness the currents of the world with greater awareness. Any conscious commitment that you retain to a false understanding of yourself or the world will greatly inhibit this process. You cannot see through a clouded eye. You cannot witness through tainted glasses. The concepts that you may continue to hold that interpret your past, your present, and your future may well serve in this inhibitionary way to obscure the real. The real around you has its own presence and vibrancy. As you remain fiercely committed to determining what is real within and around you, you will liberate yourself to choose far more wisely how to step into the changes that are occurring. And thus, it is time to commit yourself to removing distractions. It is time to commit yourself to staying in the discomfort of whatever you have distracted yourself from. It is better to sit still in this discomfort than to continue to hide. The world needs you. Those you love and are soon to learn to love need you. Your presence is a blessing as it rests in the truth. You vibrate in a way that brings the truth of the love of this world into being.